The sun had set, and the world felt heavy and dark. The skies were quiet, and the streets of Jerusalem were almost empty. The once joyful voices that followed Jesus had gone silent. The one they believed would save them, the one who healed the sick, fed the hungry, and spoke about love and hope, was now gone. Jesus had been crucified, and his body was laid in a tomb. It was a heavy day, especially for his friends and followers. Their hearts were broken. Their minds were full of questions. Was this the end? How could Jesus, who had such power, be defeated by death? The sadness sat on them like a thick cloud, and the long night seemed endless. The tomb where Jesus lay was carved out of stone, and a large stone had been rolled in front of it. Roman soldiers stood guard to make sure no one would come and take his body. To the world, it looked like the story was over. Death had won. Mary Magdalene, one of Jesus' closest followers, could not stop thinking about him. The memories played over and over in her heart. The way Jesus had spoken with kindness, the way he forgave her past, and how he made her feel seen and loved when the world turned away from her. Now all that felt lost. She, along with other women, planned to visit the tomb the next morning to anoint his body with spices, a final act of love and respect for their teacher. That night, the world waited. The birds did not sing. The stars felt dim. The earth was silent, as if all of creation was holding its breath. But what no one knew was that this night was not the end of the story. In fact, it was the beginning of the greatest miracle the world had ever seen. Sometimes in life, the darkest moments come right before the light breaks through. For the friends of Jesus, this was their darkest hour. But hope, even though unseen, was already on its way. The stone that sealed the tomb couldn't hold back the power of God. And as the world slept, something beyond human understanding was about to unfold. The silence would soon be broken, and sorrow would turn into joy. Death would not have the final word. The sky was still painted in the soft colors of early dawn when Mary Magdalene and the other women walked toward the tomb. Their hearts were still heavy, their steps slow and quiet. They carried spices and oils, planning to give Jesus one last gift of love and care, even though their hearts ached with grief. But as they approached the place where Jesus had been buried, something strange caught their eyes. The stone, the heavy stone that sealed the tomb, was no longer in front of the entrance. It had been rolled away. The women froze. Their minds raced with confusion and fear. What had happened? Who could have moved the stone? Had someone taken Jesus' body? As they stood there, unsure of what to do next, something even more surprising happened. An angel appeared before them. His clothes were as bright as lightning, and his face shone like the sun. The women fell to the ground, trembling and full of fear, but the angel spoke gently to them. "Do not be afraid," the angel said. "I know you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen just as he said. Come, see the place where he lay." The angel pointed inside the tomb. The women stepped forward, their hearts pounding, and looked inside. The place where Jesus had been laid was empty. Only the linen cloths remained, folded neatly. The angel gave them a message to carry. "Go quickly and tell his disciples. He has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him." The women were overwhelmed with a mix of emotions: fear, amazement, and the first sparks of hope. They had come to mourn, but now they were running back to share the most incredible news the world had ever heard. Jesus was alive. Sometimes, the most unexpected surprises arrive when hope seems lost. The women thought the tomb would be the end of their story with Jesus, but instead, It became the beginning of a new chapter filled with life and victory. The stone wasn't rolled away so Jesus could get out. It was rolled away so that everyone could see the grave could not hold him. Death was defeated. Hope was alive. Mary Magdalene, still overwhelmed by the empty tomb and the angel's message, stood alone outside the tomb, tears running down her face. Her heart was a mix of confusion, hope, and deep sadness. She had seen the empty place where Jesus once lay, but her heart struggled to understand. Could it be true? Could Jesus really be alive? Wiping away her tears, she turned and looked around. There was a man standing near her, but through her tears and grief, she did not recognize him. He asked her gently, "Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, Mary replied, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will go get him." Then the man spoke her name, Mary. At that moment, her heart recognized the voice that had once calmed her storms, healed her wounds, and lifted her out of her darkest days. It was Jesus. He was alive, standing right there before her. Tears of sorrow quickly turned into tears of joy. Overcome with emotion, Mary exclaimed, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Her heart was full. The one she thought was lost forever was now alive. Jesus gently told her not to hold on to him, for he still had to return to his Father, but he gave her a special mission. "Go to my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary ran to the disciples, her heart pounding with excitement. She burst into the room and shared the news, "I have seen the Lord." That morning, Mary Magdalene became the first person to witness the risen Christ. Her sorrow had been replaced with everlasting joy, and her story became a message of hope to all believers, that Jesus lives, and through him, death is not the end. When life feels hopeless and empty, remember Mary's story. Even in the moments we least expect it, hope stands right before us, calling us by name. The disciples gathered in a room, doors locked tight, their hearts heavy with fear and confusion. The news of Jesus' empty tomb had reached them, and Mary's excited claim, "I have seen the Lord," still echoed in their minds. But fear gripped them. If the authorities had crucified Jesus, what might happen to his followers? They whispered among themselves, trying to make sense of the strange events unfolding. The world outside felt unsafe, and their hearts were full of doubt. Could Mary's words be true? Could Jesus truly be alive? And then, in a moment that defied logic, Jesus stood among them. There was no sound of the door opening, no footsteps approaching. He was simply there. His presence filled the room with a peace they hadn't felt since before his death. "Peace be with you," Jesus said, his voice calm and full of love. The disciples stared at him, their eyes wide, their hearts racing. Was it really him? Jesus, seeing the doubt in their eyes, showed them his hands and side, the marks of the crucifixion. Their fear melted into overwhelming joy. Their teacher, their Lord, was alive. Again Jesus spoke, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." Then he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit." In that moment, hope replaced fear. Their lives were no longer trapped by the walls of that locked room. Jesus had conquered death, and now he was calling them to spread the message of forgiveness and new life. This chapter of the story reminds us that even when fear locks us in, Jesus can enter our hearts and give us peace. His resurrection breaks through every barrier, fear, doubt, and death itself, offering us a new beginning. The days following the resurrection were filled with wonder and new beginnings. The disciples, once weighed down by sorrow, were now filled with amazement, but also questions. Jesus had appeared to them, spoken peace over them, and given them a mission, but the journey wasn't over. Just as the angel had said, Jesus told his disciples to go to Galilee, the place where it all began. It was there by the lakeside, on familiar shores, that Jesus would meet them once again. They obeyed and went, hearts still trying to hold the weight of this incredible news. Their master, their friend, had defeated death. As they waited by the sea, some of the disciples returned to what they knew, fishing. But even then, something remarkable happened. At dawn, a man stood on the shore and called out to them, "Friends, have you any fish?" They replied, "No." The man told them, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." When they did, the net was so full of fish they couldn't haul it in. It was in that moment that John realized, "It is the Lord." Peter, full of excitement, jumped into the water and swam to shore. There on the beach, Jesus had prepared a breakfast of bread and fish for them. It was more than a meal. It was a reminder of their relationship, of grace, and of the mission ahead. Jesus spent time with his disciples in Galilee, teaching them, comforting them, and preparing them for the future. He reminded them of the great promise, "And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." The road to Galilee became a road to a new beginning. Their hearts were no longer burdened with grief, but filled with purpose. Jesus' resurrection had changed everything, and their lives would never be the same. The story of the resurrection teaches us that no matter how dark our journey seems, Jesus meets us on the road, calls us by name, and offers us a new beginning. Subscribe for more interesting Bible stories. Like, comment, and share.